Chapter 27. The Shape of Farewell. Leaving without erasing. There are moments when leaving is not an act of rejection, but of care. We step away not to break what has been, but to let it breathe in our absence. A farewell does not always arrive with drama or ceremony. Sometimes it comes quietly, without warning, like the tide drawing back while the shore still holds the memory of water. Within the ghost movement, farewell is not a hard stop to resist or a wall to collide with. It is part of the ongoing shape of presence, a shift rather than a disappearance. What we leave does not fall into nothing. It continues, altered, still carrying threads of our presence. The connection changes form, yet it does not vanish. Some departures are carried with gentleness. They honour what was shared while recognising that presence cannot always stay in its original shape. Such farewells hold both respect for the bond and understanding of the space now needed. They remind us of our place in the rhythm of closeness and distance, arrival and departure. The threshold of farewell is not always a cliff edge. It can be a soft crossing, one that lets us look back without bitterness and move forward without dragging the full weight of what can no longer be. It is a doorway that can open both ways, even as we choose to pass through in only one direction. To leave without erasing is to accept that our presence changes shape once we go. The rooms, conversations, and shared rhythms may no longer be ours, yet the impressions remain in us and in those we leave. A place, a relationship, or a period in life does not need our constant tending for its essence to endure. In the ghost movement, farewell is seen as transformation, not disappearance. The absence of our body does not mean the absence of our influence. People carry phrases, gestures, and ways of seeing that grew in our company. Places remember the weight of our steps, even when countless others have walked there since. The past does not need to be replayed to be real. It exists as part of the weave of presence. This way of seeing challenges the idea that leaving requires closure. Closure implies a sealed door, a clean break, a point after which the past has no hold on the present. Life rarely works that neatly. Even endings we think are final leave their traces. Habits that remain without thought, phrases that resurface unexpectedly, a particular tone of voice that lingers in memory. These fragments are not signs of something unfinished. They are natural traces of a connection that once mattered. To leave well is to allow the story to continue without our direct shaping. It asks for trust, trust that what we have been is enough, and that we do not need to manage the form our absence takes. In releasing this control, we free ourselves from the pressure to be endlessly present, to maintain every bond, as if its worth depended on our constant effort. Sometimes a farewell without erasure lasts longer than one sealed with finality. It lets what was shared keep living in its own time, without being forced into a single fixed image. This is not neglect but care, a care that gives people and places room to change while still carrying what was. Farewell, when it is not an erasure, leaves marks in the body. It can be in the way the shoulders shift when you pass a place you no longer enter, or the instinct to turn towards a familiar voice. The body remembers roots, gestures, and postures, tied to people and spaces long after the mind has let them go. The voice carries echoes too. A shared phrase can emerge years later, not as deliberate remembrance, but as part of your own natural speech. The rhythm, humour, or tone of someone absent can quietly take root in the way you speak. In this way, farewell does not silence a conversation, it moves it inward or onward into other lives. Places also hold memory. A room rearranged still bears the weight of where things once stood. A street walked hundreds of times holds the memory of certain days and moods. The light through a window, the creak of a floorboard, or a faint scent in wood or fabric, these are not hauntings but persistence. Farewell can also live in small, unnoticed acts. The recipe passed down by someone you no longer see. The habit of standing in a certain spot for your morning tea. The way you fold a letter before tucking it away. These are quiet forms of inheritance, evidence that the bond still breathes through the rituals of living. In the ghost movement, such traces are not relics of sentiment. They are part of the natural continuity of presence. As the tide recedes but leaves shells on the shore, Departures leave behind what is meant to remain. These fragments are not lesser than the whole. They are the whole, transformed by leaving. To live farewell as presence rather than absence requires a shift in how we approach endings. It means accepting that what has ended in one sense may continue in another, and that preservation does not require possession. This is not always simple. The instinct is often to hold tightly or cut away completely. Integration lives between the two, honouring what has been without insisting it remain unchanged. At times, it helps to acknowledge the end in a small, deliberate way. This could be standing for a moment in a room you will never enter again, letting your eyes take in its details. It could be quietly thanking an object before passing it on, or noting the last time you walk a familiar path. These gestures allow the mind and body to take in the change without denial or harsh severing. Another way is to carry forward a thread of connection into daily life. Leaving a relationship might mean keeping a phrase, a song, or a habit that held meaning, without needing to restore the whole relationship. Leaving a place might mean bringing a small ritual into your new surroundings, a way of arranging flowers, a certain tea, so that its presence lives on in a different form. Farewell without erasure also rests on boundaries. You can choose what remains close and what needs distance. Some reminders may feel too raw for now. They can be put aside rather than destroyed, allowing time to soften them. Later, you may return without reopening the wound. Part of farewell is allowing others to remember in ways that differ from your own. Once you step away, the story you shared belongs to more than you. Others will retell, reinterpret, and reshape it. Letting go of the need to control this is part of the leaving. The mark you have left is real, even if it changes in other hands. In the Ghosts movement, this is not resignation, but trust. Trust that the essence of the bond will survive in ways you may never see, and that leaving does not end belonging. Every farewell is a doorway. Some we cross willingly, others we are carried through before we are ready. What matters is not the form of the crossing, but how we carry ourselves as we pass. To leave without erasing is to step away with the quiet certainty that something of this place, time, or relationship will remain alive in us and in those we leave. People and places are never fixed in time. They keep changing, finding new forms without us. They will remember us differently from how we remember ourselves, just as our own memories will shift, growing warmer or fading into a distant echo. This is part of the rhythm of presence. To fight it only makes the passage harder. There is a gift in the perspective that comes with distance. Stepping away lets us see the shape of what we were part of, revealing details invisible from within. This shift in view does not weaken the bond. It allows us to meet it differently, often with more understanding. In the Ghosts movement, farewells are not the end of a story, but the turn into a new chapter. What is left behind is not abandoned, but entrusted to time, to others, and to the quiet keeping of memory. We do not have to hold everything ourselves. Presence can live on without our constant touch. We may not know how our trace will endure, but if we leave with care, with attention, and with openness to the connection's evolving shape, we can trust that something of us will remain. Farewell, in this way, is not an ending, but a continuation carried differently, a thread that will return to the weave of life long after our steps have moved on. From here, we move into the space where time stretches beyond our own reach, exploring how memory travels even when we are no longer present to witness its path.